To our colleagues online, if you have the ability to admit people to the talk, if you could do that on my behalf as people come in, that I would appreciate that. Otherwise, I don't have access to the screen while Marwan is speaking. So if you see someone, please admit them on my behalf. Thank you. Okay. Give it a few more minutes. No, because I want Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome, and thank you so much for being here. To everybody in person as well as everybody online, thank you for joining us for this special colloquium by certainly, so Dr. Diab has been an affiliate of the department for quite some time, but I think especially in terms of his relationship with Professor KG, a colleague and a dear friend, so we're really grateful to have you here this afternoon, and especially for this talk on, you know, I don't think I have words to say how important this issue is, especially in the context of what's happening. So if I may, Dr. Marwan Diab holds a PhD in psychology from Tampere University in Finland and a master's degree in psychology from the Islamic University of Gaza. And he also earned a bachelor's degree in community rehabilitation with a minor in psychology from the University of Calgary, and has diplomas in management and rehabilitation services from Canadian institutions, and has been involved with the Gaza Community Mental Health Program since 2003 till 2019.
20, yeah.
Till not 20. Yeah. And so it's really wonderful. That's all he wanted me to say in terms of his bio. I could go on, but please have a look. Please have a look at our advertisement for more information as well. And we're recording the talk this afternoon, so we will make it available on our YouTube platform for the colloquium. And also, Dr. Diab has given you permission to interrupt him while he speaks. So if there's a point of clarification, comment, question you'd like to make during the course of this presentation, please do so. He's welcome that. We have until 2 o'clock So, and I'm sure that there'll be lots of lively discussion, but I'll try my best to be a good timekeeper in that sense. So over to you, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for attending, and thanks Ashraf for the invitation to come here. My name is Marwan Diab. I am Palestinian. I was born and raised in Gaza Strip. I have worked in the Gaza movement since 2003 until 2020. During the war of October 7th, I was there from October 7th till the end of November. So, but I'm covering some of this stuff in here. And please feel free to ask me specific question if you have, as I'm going through. I don't mind. And if you want to wait until the end, write the question. I don't mind doing that. Okay, so this is, I know you have seen many things on TV and different things all over the social media, but I'll try my best to concentrate more on personal stories and different things rather than numbers, even though I have written some numbers in here, but I'll try my best to be more personal stories, people's words here and there, so that it might be more personal, might be more concrete rather than just having numbers and figures and stuff. So speaking of figures, this is the Gaza Strip, as you can see, Gaza City and the south of Gaza. Just for the people who don't know the geography, just in case, the Gaza City, this is the middle of Gaza here, and this is the Rafah border, the south of Gaza. For people like recently who have been displaced, they were asked to leave Gaza City to this part here, from here to here, and then recently people who are here moved back again to the middle area in here. So most of the concentration is in this area here. I'll come to this point later on as well. So it's 41 kilometers long and 6 to 14 kilometers wide in certain parts of the city. It's 365 square kilometers, and it's highly populated and dense area. There is severe deprivation, of course, and the hardship due to the conflict has been for a long time. Restricted access to essential resources at all levels, and access to healthcare is also a problem in there. There is high rate of unemployment, could reach more than 50% or even 60% or 70% at certain times. Poverty is also widespread, and infrastructure was destroyed before due to the siege, and it's even further now after the destruction of the war in Gaza. 57 years of occupation, 18 years of siege and blockade, and of course a humanitarian crisis. The blockade restricted access to many resources, and the psychological problem is prolonged due to the conflict that is happening there. This is this picture from 2014, the war that was there for about 51 days, which was the longest period. Mental health in conflict zones. Gazans currently are having different things that they're experiencing. The bombing on a daily basis, snipers, drones. I just want to focus a bit on the drones. When you hear drones, it might sound very light, but drones to me is one of the worst things that I have experienced myself, because the drone goes all day long, all night long, doing zzz, all day, all night, and you can never sleep from it. So it's really important aspect of the suffering and deprivation. Multiple displacements. People on average have been moving from one place to another 5 times, 6 times, 10 times, 12 times, and people are telling me recently they have moved 14 times within the Gaza City from one place to another. The spread of different diseases, including hepatitis A, B, and C, and more recently we have a case of polio. There is lack of food and clean water, medicine daily essentials are lacking, and entire families were wiped out from the registry because of mass destruction in the area. Um, Overwhelming numbers of casualties you see on the TV, on social medias, and lots of amputations, lots of people who have come to the hospitals that need surgery or have been injured, and they don't use anesthesia to help them out. And of course, constant fear and terror and anxiety. Any questions so far? Should I move on? Okay. Of course, these are relevant figures over the past until August. The statistics was collected. As you can see, 39,000 and something from people have been killed, and aid workers 88, 885, journalists 166, and civil defense workers 79. And of course, people who have been under the rubble have not counted in this count. And personally, I have seen people getting out of the rubbles in front of me in Rafah when I was moving. So the way they move the people from the rubble is a bulldozer comes, and then it has the place that was destroyed, and they take one, they bulldoze one, the building, move the rubble, and if they see people coming through the bulldozer, then they will take them out and move them. So there is no proper way of taking the people. So this is the only way. And then they make heaps of sand or a heap of the rubble. If they found somebody, part, anything from the person, they will take them out. And the injured, 91,000. Internally displaced people, 1.9, almost 90% of the entire population has been displaced in one way or another to different places. And of course, I mentioned this. Yes, this small thing in Arabic, as you can see, it says urgent warning. Urgent warning for the people from the north to move to the south or to the middle of them. So this comes to us by plane, a helicopter or a plane comes and throws a whole bunch of leaflets, and people use them and read them. And as soon as they get that, they have to move to one place to another, depending on supposedly to a safe place. But to be honest with you, there is no safe place in Gaza. Like, it's really very, very difficult to know if you move from Gaza City to Rafah, where I showed you the south, how safe would that be? Because we have encountered many difficulties in there. Damage to different buildings. This is 60% residential, 80% commercial, 85 schools, 65 roads, UNRWA facilities, ambulances, and hospitals, and primary healthcare centers. Okay, the trauma in Gaza. When you think of trauma, you might think, okay, trauma is something that happens to the individual suddenly. You know, it's unexpected, and then the person is overwhelmed with the stress that's happening from the trauma. But the trauma in Gaza is different. It's ongoing. It's every day. It's happening. It's severe. It's so strong that you see people, parts are moving, and parts could come to you, near you. It could be individual. One person could be suffering, or collective. The whole family, the whole neighborhood are suffering. So it's really different from the typical trauma that we know. And common events that are happening: loss of security. There is no security at all. Displacement. I think it might sound very light, but to be honest with you, when I am displaced, when people are displaced, when family are displaced, it's a huge load, because you have to move all your life from one place to another. It's totally, really devastating. So, and loss of loved ones. This is something, if you lose somebody, it sounds nowadays, okay, sorry for your loss. And I'm coming to this point later on about that. And loss of homes and memories. Homes are very important, and the memories that you have raised. I also have a picture of the home that was destroyed. Loss of hope. There is no hope anymore. You don't know whether you live tomorrow or the day after, what will happen to you. So there's no hope People are feeling hopeless and helpless and powerless as a result of this. And of course, there are difficult living conditions. There's the trauma, psychological and emotional response. It could be a single trauma. It could be this distressing event. And of course, it overwhelms the individual from coping properly with it. With the complex trauma, it's repeated, it's prolonged, it's continuous, it's feeling helplessness, long-lasting, emotional numbness, and the situation difficult to maintain relationship. The numbness I want to focus on here. When somebody is emotionally numb, you know that they have flat affect and they don't reflect any feelings towards the person. This is what's happening. Sometimes I have encountered this myself. You go to somebody and say, tell me about your situation. Yeah, I lost my house. Okay, so let me hear that. That's my reaction. While my reaction should be much stronger than this. Or if somebody lost their family members, I'm sorry to hear your loss. That's it. So we have been trained to become numb, psychologically numb. We have been trained to feel emotionless about other people's suffering, unfortunately. And this is our reaction. And it's really something that's really dangerous. Ongoing traumatic stress. It's an ongoing thing. It's a never-ending thing. Every day, it's exposure to different traumas. There is no stability, and of course, the displacement. I keep talking about the displacement and losing the home. I have lost. I don't want to make it personal, but I'll show you some pictures of that as well. It's a prolonged chronic sleep disturbances. It's one of the worst things that I personally and others have encountered. When you are asleep, first of all, you cannot go to sleep, so you have insomnia. And then if you went to sleep, then you will be waking up in the middle of the night, and you cannot go back to sleep until you're really tired and you have no energy to sleep. Then you might be able to sleep for a bit. Then suddenly a bomb happens nearby or an explosion happens. Then you wake up again. So it's a constant non-stop of sleep disturbance that's happening. Of course, ongoing conflict and displacement leads to mental health problems. Anxiety. High levels of anxiety among the population as a result of feeling insecurity and uncertainty about the future. There's no future. They don't know what will happen tomorrow. Will the war stop? Will I be able to save my kids? Will I be able to save my life? Will I be able to continue on? So this is really the unpredictability and uncertainty are really very common. And will I have a future? Will my kids have a future? Whatever. So it's really a problem. PTSD. Even though the term PTSD is misleading because it's supposed to be post-traumatic stress disorder, but the post, it's not there. It's an ongoing thing. So it's a fallacy to think about this way that it's a post, because as soon as you have some trauma and you want to recover from it, something else happens. So it's never, the post never comes. Flashbacks and anxiety and hypervigilance. And one of the things of like PTSD is the avoidance aspect. You find if a bomb happens in a near neighborhood, people are supposed to be avoiding the situation. Rather, people go and check and see, and this avoidance aspect sometimes it's missing in our context. So you're supposed to be avoiding the situation, avoiding the smell, avoiding anything, but the avoidance aspect is not existing. Other mental health problems, psychosomatic, lots of headaches and pains, sleeping, I mentioned, anger, why this is happening to us, irritability all the time. Somebody talks to you, say, don't talk to me. Like there is no tolerance for speaking with people. There is no tolerance of anything. So, and this is very common nowadays because people are living in very small spaces that they have lost their privacy, they have lost their space, and they have lost everything. So there is no tolerance for anybody anymore to be near you. So they are really always irritable, frustrated. I'm not sure what will happen tomorrow. Grief and loss. There's so much unresolved grief, And some people say, for me, that it would be really my wish is to see my loved ones who are killed to be buried in dignity, to be buried in a dignified life, rather than just thrown in the streets and the dogs and cats and whatever comes and eat them. So it's really one of the things that people are talking about. Behavioral problems among children, aggression, regression, and clinging behavior. Clinging behavior, this used to be very common before the war. But now, the clinging behavior, because the kids and the families are all in the same place, in small areas. So this clinging is not as much valid as it used to be, because when parents used to live together and their room is different, the kids would come and want to sleep in the same room. And they're afraid of darkness, they're afraid of everything. But nowadays, it's really difficult for them because they're all together anyway, all the time, in the face of each other. So, and because of lack of privacy. Yes, these are some of the idioms in Arabic that I have translated. People have been using lately. Melted. I feel melted. In Arabic, died. Okay, I feel destroyed, damaged from inside. I'm really destroyed. I have no energy. I feel choking, and my dignity is wiped. Anybody knows in Arabic, and I'm in so much pain. You know, these are very common expressions that are among the people now. And some people say, I dream to have fruits and vegetables, and I feel helpless and powerless, and I miss my old me. These are very common things that people have been using. Any questions so far? Anything? Should I move on or? Okay.
That's what UNRWA is. You mentioned it earlier.
Oh, sorry. UNRWA, United Nations Relief and Works Agency, which is supposed to be providing aid for Palestinian refugees. And of course, they have wiped most of the centers, and they have wiped most of the shelters that people are refuging in there. Intergenerational transmission. The trauma is passed from one generation to another. Family tell their stories, the stories of their grandparents and parents to their children. It's passed from one generation to another, and of course the children will internalize this, and they will have, as a result of that, some mental health problems and whatever follows that. Yes, when my parents and my grandparents left, I come from a place called Masmiya. Masmiya is about an hour away from Jerusalem, and it was my parents were kicked out from Masmiya in 1948, and my mom and my grandparents always tell us about Masmiya. You know, Masmiya was this, and Masmiya was so. It's always, and they have the keys to their house, and they have the documents, personal documents of registration for their house. So it's really, when we were displaced, when we were asked to move, to evacuate by the Israelis, we remembered our parents. This was low. So we started to think, oh, maybe we should not blame our parents, because when they left out of horror, and they left out of fear, and they left their land. They did not just give it up and surrender. It was really horror. So I think we have to stop blaming our parents and grandparents for leaving our cities in 1948. Challenges in mental health. The trauma is very complex. Any traditional training that you have been trained in, it does not work in there anymore, or it needs to be modified to the context. You know, trauma focused, psychotherapy. You know, what can you do? A psychotherapy for somebody as you're sitting down, or you're doing CBT, as you're sitting down, you say, yes, imagine the situation, you're relaxed. Can you rethink about the situation? You know, it's so difficult in such context to use any therapeutic models that you have been taught, or we have been taught through different international interventions or through people. So it's really difficult. You face as you are treating people, of course, they will be having more traumas as you're coming. So somebody has said it once from my colleagues that we are helping, I guess, helping the occupation by slightly helping other people but then we are preparing them for the next aggression. We are, as therapists, we are preparing other people to steadfast for the next trauma to happen to them. So it's really very paradoxical. Challenges for mental health workers, it's a chronic thing. Constant violence cause trauma. Limited resources. The healthcare system is was collapsed before the war, and now it's even more collapsed. It was destroyed. The high prevalence of PTSD, depression, and the substance abuse. We have conducted actually. Ashraf and I did the research, and our colleague who's online, Guido, research about tramadol, which is one of the substances that have been abused in Gaza, but now it's not available anymore. Even cigarettes, people maybe, I would say, it's a personal guess, 90% of the people smoke in Gaza, but now each cigarette costs 120 Israeli shekel, which comes to maybe at least $25 US dollar, each cigarette, not a pack. So for substance abuse, that's why I'm highlighting it. It would have been one of the manifestations of the trauma for people to resort to maladaptive coping behaviors, which is substance abuse. But this is not existing anymore because there is no substances. Yes, please.
It's not about substances, but something you said earlier that I've just been sort of thinking about situations as therapists on the ground in this very unique context and situation where there's ongoing impact and sort of how do you deal with this in terms of the day-to-day of people's lives and showing them and preparing them for the next one. But I'm wondering what it's like for clinicians. So how when you are also living there, you're also having to deal with the clinicians and actually deliver therapy around it. So how are you all managing that?
Yes.
Is there something such as supervision amongst you at the moment? And is there, so how is that really happening?
Yeah, okay. Yes, thank you. May I postpone your question if you don't mind? Yeah, the question for the online people, the question was how, as therapists, are you managing the situation? I will answer it in a few seconds if you don't mind, because there was one slide about that that's coming. Okay. Stigma is very big in our. If you go to mental, as it is in different parts of the world, stigma is very high. If you go to a therapist, then you are attached to a label of being crazy. Excuse the expression, but that's how it is. Okay, and if you attach this label, then you will not be able to marry. If it was a woman or a man, if your family members will be affected. Of course, if you have a sister, she will not be married because you are the brother of the person who has the mental health problem, and whatever. So it's really a big thing in here. Despite all efforts that we do, campaigns, different things, but it's really problematic to have a mental health problem, and that's why when people seek mental health problems, they go to medical doctors as opposed to psychologists, because the medical doctor is supposed to be much more accepted, and then they might have to give them some medication and all sorts of referral. And so the first point of entry for mental health problems is usually through the medical doctors and practitioners. Instability, of course, you have seen personal impact affect professionals. This affects their burnout and professionalism in providing services. What do they need? They need regular supervision. Supervision. But if I'm giving a supervision to somebody from my own context, it's really difficult to give them such supervision. So it has to be somebody external. It could be online. It could be experts who do some supervision, like Ashraf does sometimes with our caregivers. Resources. They need resources, medication, and intervention protocols. Of course, advocacy, and they need a safe working environment. You, as a therapist, should have a safe environment to work with. And then, in order to have a safe environment for your client or beneficiary. So it's really, this is not existing in Gaza, the safe environment. You try to say, okay, let's have this space, but then all of a sudden it could be bombed or something bombed near you. So there's no safe place to consider that, okay, maybe if we move to a certain place that the Israelis have designated as a humanitarian area for safety, but they will still come and bomb that area. So there's no safety. And of course, very important is partnership and trainings and technical assistance from our friends who are outside. What are the needs? What is being provided nowadays? Psychological first aid, PFA. But one of the PFA aspects is link. Like you have to listen to the people and then you have to link them to other resources. But how can you link them when there is no resources? So I guess the PFA is a bit, there's a shortcoming of the PFA, which is psychological first aid. But people still, go and listen to the stories, and they might refer them if there is a chance to refer them. But most of the time, you refer them to a certain thing, and they say, no, I want food, I want medication. Don't refer me to go to a psychologist or something. Give me something practical now, because I'm looking for safety and security for my family and looking for basic needs, not higher aspects of Maslow's hierarchy. Pain management, recreational activities. I think this is one of the things that's being implemented nowadays. Recreation for the kids and some families. Psychosocial support for women's group. I have a couple of pictures of that. So this is the recreational activities that we have initiated in Gaza by some not a clown, but some activists or some animators. And these are some expressive art therapy in Rafah area. And this is the women's group. As you can see, they are sitting out of the shelters in different, and this was initiated by one of our master's colleague. Her name is Manar, and she's doing some talking, psychoeducation to the families, providing some information about what happened to them, how can they explain. So this is some of the things. This child is asking, what is my right of living, eating, and education? A mom, her name is Arij. She's a pharmacist. Dad is a cardiologist, skilled in social media. And the dad and daughter evacuated, and mom was due to follow them, but she was not able to. Now she's stuck in Gaza. She said, I lost my friends in the recent massacre in Khan Yunis in the south of Gaza. I'm sad for them, but they have been relieved from this unjust world. That's her words. And she also adds that we are living in a body without a soul. We don't know what to do. We may wake up and wait for the day to end and just count the days. We are tired and the whole world does not care about us. So this is really her words that she's saying. And she's separated from her family. Another mom said, and I know this woman personally, I was thinking that I am the best mom in the world. Now I feel I am the worst mom in the world. I could not secure a safe life for her kids. My kids have no life anymore. Please forgive me, my kids. So please forgive me for being a bad mom, as I could not be available for you. I could not protect you. Oops. This was drawn in Gaza. Where should we go? We have no place to go because Gaza, as you have seen, is very contained. The sea from one side, the Israelis from different sides, the Egyptians' borders is closed, so there's no place to go. This is my own displacement circle. First of all, I started here. I was in Gaza City, then moved to the north. Then after the north, moved back again to another place in Gaza City. Then moved to the south, to Rafah, which is deep south. Then moved back again after we were targeted, and I have a picture of that soon, to the middle area. It's called Zawaida. And then we moved again within Zawaida to another place. And then we moved back again to Rafah until we were evacuated from Gaza completely. And we were one of the lucky ones to leave. So this is, on average, this is a very light displacement, I see, considering the circumstances, and this is within 2 months. Can you imagine 11 months now? People are being displaced all over the place, everywhere. And this is my son and I, this is my car. It was a very nice car, and my colleague online, his name is Guido. We were there before the war, almost every day, going to different parts of Gaza. So, and I drove this car with my son. He was sitting here, and I asked him to close his eyes because the glasses were shattering us. Of course, this was not, I made this hole to see, of course, because, so I made this hole to see, but it was really bombed in one of the bombs in Rafah. This was bombed in Rafah. And this is it, as you can see it, the car. And this is my own house. And on top of here, this was recent, about a month ago. I was not there, but our neighbors asked me if we could use your house to displace in it. And we said yes. And all of them, 7 of them were killed inside the house. And until now, they are buried. And I think there was one, I cannot see very well, but I was told that there is one who's being buried on top of there as well. So all of them are still in there, and there is no facilities to get them out, as I have explained earlier in the bulldozer, because you need gas for the bulldozer to come. Then you need money. If it comes, and money, it's very expensive to bring it. You have to bring it on your own expenses. So it's really, people say, forget it. We'll just wait until this nightmare and genocide finishes, then we'll go ahead after that. This is we are coping with the situation. We try to adjust as much as we can. But to be honest with you, we're not healed. I don't think we will heal from the trauma. And I don't think a person heals from the trauma. It's always a scar, psychological scar within you all the time. So this is us trying to save some water for bad days whenever we have the water. And this was earlier in the war. And as you can see, this is how we charge our phones. We bring some battery operated system, and then everybody plugs their phone for that. And this is a real picture taken in Rafah, by the way. And this is my laptop. And sometimes I use it as a power bank. I charge it, then I charge my phone afterwards for the night. Ethical responsibilities of professionals. When you talk to people, avoid re-traumatization. Do not ask them, tell me details about what happened to you. Not at least in these circumstances nowadays, because if they tell you details, it's really re-traumatizing. So maybe later on, if you're in a CBT session or in a psychotherapy session, protect the privacy and avoid stigmatization. Because security-wise, it's really problematic if you don't protect people's identity, because they might, if you are not protecting their information, then maybe they could be targeted. If you are dealing with a militant, or if you are helping somebody who's having a problem, then they could be targeted if you announce them or whatever. Volunteer participation is important, respecting them despite their affiliation, which I mean political affiliation or religious affiliation. So it's important to build, I have built resilience. This word is very distorting and very, very terrible to use, to be honest with you. Yes, we would like to build the resilience and the coping mechanisms of people, but it's really very misleading. And Ashraf and I, our friend Guido, were writing something about the distorted image of resilience, because resilience means that you are resistant and you're able to cope and you're able to handle it. But then, okay, this gives me a chance to abuse you more because you are resilient, So it's a very bad term to use. Maybe help people cope with the situation. I know I've written a paper about resilience myself, but I'm just telling you my point of view. Okay, avoid financial, don't exploit people, monitor your own personal well-being as well. I'm coming gradually to your question. if you don't mind. Yeah, seek supervision and peer support. You know, if you have peers who are able to, and nowadays we are being supported online by peers who have been outside of Gaza, Palestinians who have been displaced in Egypt, and now they're providing some peer support. Our colleague here, Ashraf, also providing, and Guido providing some peer support to our therapists in there. Conduct is ethical research. This is very important if you are conducting a research in a conflict zone, because it's very easy to come to a fragile society and say, please fill this form for me. But what should I do? But do you have approval? Do you have ethical, approvals, whatever? So in conflict zone, people, first of all, it's really important to watch out, because if you bring some force, people in such situation, they are very scared to fill forms. What are you doing with my forms? Are these forms for security? Are you bringing it to the authority? Are you sharing it with Israelis? That's one thing. Another thing is, sometimes people think if you give them a form, fill your information, they might have a high expectation. Maybe, he's bringing a form, maybe they're bringing me some aid, or they're bringing me some financial support or something. So it's really important to be very overt and very clear about when you are doing research. And I don't know many people who are doing research now, but it's important to keep that in mind. Raising awareness, always raise awareness. The way that we are, our international groups are supporting us through raising awareness, talking in conferences, talking to other academics, provide, care. How can we build the mental health system again? We need to provide crisis intervention. We need to provide some hotlines, and we have used that recently as well. But the lines are cut off most of the time. There's no networks and there's no internet. So whatever you work with on an ad hoc basis, whatever works, but it's really very disorganized and it's not very consistent. Capacity building for professionals is very important, and again, resilience building and stigma programs. Because there is lots of shortage in mental health professionals due to the war, we need to train some primary care providers as well. The focus should be on school-based trauma. Evaluation is very important, and cooperating with other academics and researchers worldwide. The future of our children, I'm not sure if nobody, to be honest with you, could predict the future of our children. They have been traumatized over and over again. They have not healed. They have witnessed the trauma of their parents. They have witnessed body parts flying everywhere. They have witnessed their home being destroyed. So I don't know what the future would you expect for the kids who have lost all these loved ones and all these memories and stuff. So it's really difficult to predict a good future for them. Yes, this is the question you asked me here. Yeah, the immune psychologist image. You should have the magic keys. Somebody comes to you and say, excuse me, Marwan, can you help me? I'm traumatized. Help me, you're a psychologist. But what can you do in such circumstances? You feel helpless. So you're supposed to have the magic key to cure people. Okay, you're not allowed to be scared. I had to hide my fears and tears sometimes from my son and my family, because I'm supposed to be a psychologist, strong and immune, but unfortunately, I'm a human being, so I suffer same as other people. You're not allowed to have mental health problems, and you have to pretend that you're strong all the time if you're living in this context. I have just quickly to read this. Sorry guys, online it's not shared, but we can share it together. The days after October 7th are included to my memory as time of non-stop fear. The bombing never seemed to stop, and my family and I were always running, trying to stay safe. Every night, holding each other close. We wondered if we would live to see the morning. The sounds of the drones and explosions became a constant reminder of how fragile our lives were. I mention again the drones. The drones are my worst nightmare myself, to be honest with you, because it constantly reminds me that something is going to happen, and sometimes the drones comes, and all of a sudden, so if it does this, means that he's accelerated the engine or something. It means that something is going to happen right away, a bomb or something, which the case is true. My mind is filled with questions. How can anyone really understand what it means to pack up an entire life into one small bag, which is true. I had my luggage always on the go. What kind of strength does it take to keep going when you are living a tent for months, not knowing when will it end? And most of all, when will the fear of death ever go away? We don't know. Living under constant threat in Gaza, I'm not going to read much, just a small paragraph. Okay. As psychologists have learned how labels such as refugee, displaced, or besieged can shape our lives. Every day, I have the reality of being displaced, but I'm also terrified by the fear of more permanent labels like martyr, this wounded prisoner. These labels feel like dark shadows, ready to attach themselves to me at any given moment. So, thank you, South Africa, for the support and the solidarity, and we're really proud to be in the agenda of South Africa, especially in the court that you have appealed recently. And if you talk to a small Palestinian now or an older person, everybody knows that one of the countries that stood with Palestinians is South Africa. So it's really imprinted in our minds that South Africa was the bravest to help us out in this dilemma. And we know too well that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of Palestinians. And this is, of course, always quote in our writings, in our teachings, or whatever it is. Any questions? Thank you. Yes, are you moderating the questions, or am I just? Okay, sure. Yeah, no problem. Yes.
Thank you so much for your presentation. This sharing so what is your plan from here now? Getting out Africa, university school.
Sorry.
What is your plan from here on out in terms of Gaza and your relationship with the
Have you seen my words here? Unpredictability, uncertainty. This is exactly how I feel right now. And Ashraf has been asking this question. What are you planning to do? I have no idea. I'm not sure. And this is the worst thing that could happen to a person. Like, do you have a plan next year? Do you have a plan this week? No. And we don't plan, because our plans always fail. So my question, I'm sorry, I don't know. To be honest with you, I have no plan. I cannot plan. Yeah, no problem. Yes, please.
Sarah, I'm wondering about what's most appropriate for us to do at an individual level to give support. You spoke about the government, Bangladeshi government supporting Pakistan at an individual level.
Yes, I have many thoughts about that. Thank you. Maybe I should tell the question was what could we do at a personal level? Yes, at the personal level, many things you could probably embrace, or you could be friends with people from Gaza, and just show them support. Say, okay, I'm with you. Because when my friend here was calling me every morning, say, just tell me good morning, Marwan, then he knows I'm safe. This is what the people need to be acknowledged, that there's somebody out there is worrying about them, somebody out there is caring about them. So this is one of the most important things. Talking about our cause, because there is a two-sided story always, We are being accused of being terrorists, and we are being accused of being, troublemakers. But listen to the whole story. Look at the context. Not just one single media aspect that talks about Palestinians, and don't just show the militants that are there or the rockets, that come. Show everything. Show the whole story. And this is what the one-sided story always. Our media is poor, but the media of the other side is strong, and that's what they show. For example, if something happened in a certain place in Israel, they say, yes, this person was killed or whatever in retaliation for this and that and that. So it's really all justifiable in the media, unfortunately. So this is personal context is very important. Posting in your social media, things that you see in your friends can see, widening your scope of understanding, reading more about the context, reading more about the history. I think it's very important. And of course, if you have some good connections, I personally have lots of connections, especially in the States, by the way, which is the main supporter, the United States is the main supporter of Israel. Billions of dollars go there, but I have many friends who are really at a personal level, like Ashraf and Guido from Italy, at a personal level, they're very supportive. They talk about our cause, they support our families. Some of them even evacuated our families from Gaza. They paid $5,000 for each family member to get out of Gaza. You know, these are the kind of things that people appreciate. And of course, this woman, my family made her a song. You know, seriously, I have a song that I'll show you. Sometimes they made her a song of saving their life. So now they want to build her a statue because she's the one who saved them, you know, from these atrocities and genocide.
Yes, sir. I apologize for my ignorance on the topic. I'm not aware of any avenues to which to make personal contact with someone experiencing it. Might I write something down?
Sure. I can connect you with the people. I have a friend in the States. Her name is Doria. Also connect you with her. She can tell you many people before war, whatever. So, sure, yes. So, yeah, of course. Gift to the givers. You are one of the supporters that they have been supporting Gaza, and they have been there for 32 years. And now they are supporting families in Gaza and in Egypt who are displaced. So now people are in Egypt, they are living in a limbo. They are not supposed to work, they are not supposed to go to schools, they are not supposed to have a residency here. So they are refugees. They're supposed to be refugees, but they are not refugees. So the givers are providing them with financial aid, rent for the month, living expenses, medical expenses, and they also have programs in Gaza where they support the people to get some living expenses as well. So this is a very good avenue if you want. And I could also share with Ashraf, my friend in the States, if you wish.
We have a hand up here from Professor Leslie London. Leslie, please unmute yourself.
Leslie.
Yes.
Hi, thank you so much for this talk. I'm really, I don't know really what I can say in solidarity with you, but I do have two questions. So it's always struck me that health workers and health professionals outside of the conflict take sides, and they actually don't value doctors and psychologists and other health workers in Gaza as their peers, because they believe the propaganda that's presented. And it's really very painful to see that, because, you know, if it was a war going on in, you know, Afghanistan or Ukraine, you wouldn't immediately assume a doctor is lying when there's an accusation about human shielding, but that's what happens, and people basically disregard Palestinian health workers in that way. I find it so extraordinary that that's not being said, and I wonder if you could, you know, what would you say to your peers in other countries about what their professional obligations are to colleagues in Gaza and Israel, actually, because they should also be doing things. And then what can we do to our professional organizations, like, I don't know, American Psychological Association and other organizations? Shouldn't we be intervening with them in some way? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leslie. Just the question, I'll just repeat the question just in case, because he's asking me about health workers in the war take sides with the other side of the story, the Israeli stories, and there's an accusation of using people as a human shields. And some people will listen to that story as well. And what are the professional obligations of the health workers outside, and what can professional organizations do Thank you for this four complicated questions. So it's, first of all, yeah, we have been told in the media that we are being used as a human shield by the militants. Unfortunately, Gaza is very small, as I have explained to you. It's very difficult to use us as human shields because everybody lives near everybody. So that's one thing. Another thing is, if, for example, I knew that somebody is a militant, I'm very resistant to come near them. And in fact, I will not allow them to come near my house because I know they might be followed by drones. So we kick them out, or we try our best to avoid being around them. So that's not true. We don't really protect them. And for professional organizations, there's many things you could do at the international level. Providing some support, supervision, peer supervision. If you write research or you write anything that will help the case of the Palestinians, stating the facts. We don't want a distorted image of the Gaza situation. Just to state the facts and the numbers, the real numbers, not exaggeration, because it's really defeats the purpose if somebody is exaggerating in the numbers. So these are support groups are very important for us. We feel some groups come as medical delegations. They come to Gaza every once in a while, do some volunteer work in there. So they are well respected by the community in there. I hope I answered your simple question.
Yes, thanks. Thank you.
We have a hand here.
Yes, please.
I want to ask you, you mentioned that the current psychological interventions cannot be used in Gaza right now because it's just not applicable.
Yeah.
What do you know of the research that's going into creating new psychological interventions to address what's happening now?
Yes. As I mentioned, the traditional methods of intervention are, they're really, when you're working trauma-focused therapy or deep psychotherapy and stuff. I think what people need now is to feel safe. Psychoeducation is very important. Educate the people. Somebody is having a problem with their, overreacting to something. Say, no, this is a normal reaction to an abnormal situation. So psychoeducation, giving them information about how their body is reacting to the trauma is very important. Providing some, as I mentioned, psychological first aid. You go to the people and understand, okay, their situation, you try your best to give them numbers, refer them if it's possible, but still, it's very difficult. Maybe give them some medical facilities, help them out, listen to their stories, but not in full detail because there's no time to listen to them. So short-term intervention, crisis intervention might be relevant in the context. Yeah. Yes, please.
Thank you so much for this very insightful presentation. You mentioned about intergenerational trauma, and I'm just wondering how many years would it roughly take, or how many generations, for trauma like this to resolve itself in a group?
If you remove the occupation on the siege, tomorrow, then people start to heal. But somebody has to come and say, I'm sorry for what I have done to you over the years. I'm sorry, I apologize. So this will not happen right now. So I think it's a long-lasting thing. It's a never-ending story. My ex-boss said, unless somebody comes to me and says to me, I am sorry for what I have done to you, and I apologize, I'm ready to pay you back what I can, then the healing and the resolving and the conflict within you is not going to happen. And I don't think the Israelis have the ability to do that because they don't admit that they have done something wrong. They are after killing the people and under the pretext that they are killing terrorists and killing people who are attacking them.
My last question was just about the ethics of doing research during this time. So it just sort of struck me when you were mentioning that ongoing research that might be happening, and I wondered around some of the ethics around that. So, I can imagine an application coming to the ethics committee and somebody rightly saying, how are you doing this work during this time? Isn't this burdensome to people?
Yes.
And often as a mitigation strategy, you have to offer some psychological support, and then it's like, well, as you said, like, where are the resources? Where is the support? So
Yes.
how does that happen?
I'm not sure actually. First of all, please correct me, Guido, if I was wrong. I haven't seen any research being done about the current situation right now. And as you said, if you are doing research to get approval, you need to have a mitigation strategy for the people. If somebody, as they are talking, they fell apart in front of you as a researcher, you need to refer them to a psychologist or something. So I don't think this is happening right now because not much research is done, or at least not that I know of. But if it's happening on an ad hoc basis, but it might not be even ethical to conduct such. Guido, do you have any comment about that, if you can, or no? I'm sorry to volunteer you. You're still muted if you want.
Yes, even to my understanding, it's not so easy to have kind of research in these conditions. And most of the time, we can say that we are more testimonies or some uh, opportunity to receive some witnessing from the people from Gaza. And so in this case, I think the most ethical way to do research is to make this voice amplified and to the more than collecting data, to provide the opportunity to speak out and to talk about the conditions of people there. So it's kind of participatory research where people, if they do agree, can talk about their situation in a way to expose what
Thanks. Yeah.
is producing now.
Yeah. Thank you, Guido. Yes, for those who did not hear the response, Guido said that it's not easy. Maybe 30 people talk about what they have witnessed in there, and you have to have your voice amplified to talk about this and speak out about the conditions as much as you can, but not, he did not hear of anything about that. So.
Yes, that's why when I saw that and I was thinking, are you referring to work that's going on? And then I was thinking I couldn't imagine that taking place right now. So
no, because we have Ashraf is very strict with his IRB and Guido and the IRB. They're very strict with us. And how are you going to guarantee the safety? How are you going to guarantee the privacy and all these things?
Yeah.
And I will not have answers to them. So I don't dare to apply for anything.
No, it wouldn't be appropriate. So there was a comment here from Leslie, which I think you can read, and I see a hand from Zuhair, and then we also have Prof. Pumla who has a hand. I think just also in the interest of time, we might have just these last two comments, one from Pumla and then Zuhair, and then we can.
Yeah, this comment, Leslie, is right on with this question. The comment, yeah, I think the leadership and wider community of our university should be listening to what we have here today.
Yes, and we will make the recording available certainly.
And Leslie is talking. Yeah, he's talking. It's very sobering that you don't need to exaggerate genocide. Of course, some health professionals have abandoned their professional ethics to make it their job to underestimate the death and injuries. Sorry, I did not read the whole thing, Leslie, but yes. Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you very much. One is a comment and then the other one is a question.
Just a second to bring my notes.
I just wonder, I mean, you just talk about witnessing now. I'm just wondering what even witnessing means when the violence is relentless. You know, when you talk about witnessing or even bearing witness, there's a sense in which there's a distance from the events, and then the bearing witness and the witnessing is about what has happened. And it seems to me that we are really being challenged with what's happening in Gaza to rethink even these concepts. You know, what does it mean to bear witness? What does it mean to witness? It seems as if we need new words to describe what is going on, because it's just not, it doesn't capture the idea of witnessing, putting witnessing or bearing witness in order that people know what happened. But now people know every day. But my question is, have people started
any new forms of mourning? Because when killing and the violence and the genocide is so, in your face every day, by the different experiences, the burials, the loss, all the children who lost families, the families who lost almost everyone. What are the modes of mourning, if any? Are there any ways in which people are beginning to rethink or think about new ways of mourning, as mourning must happen? Or is it a case of people are just in constant grief all the time?
Thank you. Very good question. First of all, people are in constant grief, and the issue of mourning, there's lots of unresolved grief. And the new ways of mourning nowadays is for families who have lost members in their house, they bury them inside the house, or in the garden of the house, or in the neighborhood, or in the hospital. So these are new forms. It has never happened before. And of course, for them, this is a more dignified than having dogs and animals come and eat them alive, or eat them when they're dead. So this is what has been happening. So this is a more, unfortunately, it's very sad, and this will mean that we will never forget the persons in their entire life, because it's always there in their house, if they ever come back to their house. So these are the forms that my cousin's biggest worry was his mother was about 80 years old, and she has been living close to a graveyard for maybe 30 years. And then when she was asked to move, she was displaced in the middle of Gaza, and then she was buried in the middle of Gaza, even though there was a graveyard beside her. But he was happy. I said, why are you happy? He said, I'm happy that she was not eaten by the animals. I'm happy that she has a grave we can visit her in the grave or something. So this is really what's happening, unfortunately. And there's your witnessing. I don't know, witnessing means you hear or you see. But if you hear, like Gaza is very small. If there was a bombing in the middle of Gaza, everybody in the south hears it, and vice versa. So everybody's witnessing everything. You don't have to physically be there beside the incident itself. This could be more traumatizing, or it could be even sometimes if you're witnessing or you understand what's happening, it might be healing for you to see. But it's very complicated process. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Our last question will be from Zuhair online. Zuhair, please go ahead.
Hi, I'm here, yes. I just wanted to say thank you for the insightful presentation. I want to touch on something that Guido said about social media, about presenting the facts that you said, and your opinion, please, on the use of stuff like Instagram and TikTok. There's a TikToker inside Gaza called Wizard Bistan that regularly updates what's happening in Gaza to herself personally, and to bring that back to the research part of how we would be able to, should we be able to use those. It is in the public domain, but there's something about seeing the atrocities that are being committed that just kicks you in the gut, but you don't feel, I personally don't feel that this is something that I want to report about. Yes, I'll repost it, yes, but I don't want to conduct research on it because it feels even more degrading to the people who post these things. Yeah, sorry. So okay. I think my question basically is other than sharing on social media and choosing channels to follow, in terms of research, what's your opinion about using social media posts that comes directly out of Gaza to use as research?
Yeah, thank you. That's a difficult question, by the way. I might have to ask a friend to answer it for me. Maybe I should take a bit. He's talking about social media and the facts that have been posted on Instagram and TikTok. One of the activists, her name is Bisan, and she just won an award for being an activist. He's asking, Zuhair, was it? Yeah, what was our opinion about using such posts on social media as a research tool or something? To be honest with you, I'm not sure. And he's saying that it's even more degrading for us to reshare some of these posts in our social media as well. So he's asking if we can use that as a research tool. I'm not sure, to be honest with you, Zuhair. And by the way, such social media as tools have been used. They have been used in the past, but I mean nowadays they are uncovering all the genocide and the atrocities that are happening. So I think they are very powerful tools, and they are being used by different activists around the world, and many people in different parts of the world understand the story much more clear than what it was in the past, because in the past we were relying more on Western media more than our own personal blogs. Can you answer this question if it's possible, or please?
Well, from my point of view, I think the job of researchers now is to be activists to call for a ceasefire and an end to the genocide. That is what we need urgently. Research questions, I'm sure, will come ultimately, but right now there are other needs: medicine, food, shelter, physical safety, all of those things. I'm not even thinking about doing research now. I think where there might be some scope, for example, is for people in Gaza to tell their stories to the outside world, and for those stories to be shared. For example, using photo voice as a way of sharing this, so that I know that one of the things that people in Gaza appreciate is solidarity from outside, and for people to continue supporting them so that they don't feel alone in trying to cope with the horror of what is going on. So from that point of view, as a source of support, we can maybe use some of these approaches. But my research hat is completely off right now.
No, absolutely. This last comment here from Guido is, let me even say that international journals are most often bullying those Palestinians who want to publish data about the current situation, rejecting papers labeled as politically biased or methodologically inaccurate and flawed. So we got many unfair rejections since October 7th, unfortunately, even from unexpected, supposedly progressive journals, such as feminist outlets. Doing research in Gaza now is just not a matter of ethics, but a fight against censorship and defamation. So, colleagues, I think we have to end it there. There is a class happening now in this honors room. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming in person.
We do have some refreshments downstairs.
Goodbye, Marwan. See you. Thank you very much.